Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's John over at UFOs Worldwide. It is still May the 14th, 2020. I wasn't going to make another video, but I had someone reach out to me from the Philippines. His name's Duong. We spoke on the phone for about an hour in which he relayed to me his experience and sent me some videos and a bunch of photos. In it, he describes that he's sitting at home, relaxing, as we usually do, sitting in the air conditioning, because if you live in the Philippines, it's freaking hot and humid. And so he's just chilling, and his wife's doing the dishes. And the next thing you know, she's seeing something in the window. Now, across the way from their window where she's washing the dishes, there's actually like a canopy. There's a banana tree, there's lots of trees, lots of foliage, but this object is illuminated. And beyond the trees itself, there's actually a creek, and it's a very large creek. It's about 50 feet across, and he says it's about 150 feet deep. And so this object is being observed through the window, through the forest, and it's clear as day. It is blown the heck up, you guys. So he says that this object itself is being observed. He goes and sees it, and they're both kind of freaking out a little bit inside. Obviously, they didn't believe in UFOs at the time. And the next thing you know, they said it pulse flashed them like a laser beam. And what happened was very intriguing. His wife's eyes became swollen and they had blood spots, like spotty blood spots on her eyes. The other thing that happened was the guy that was standing beside his wife, Duong, he felt like his head was swollen, like his brain was swelling and throbbing. His eyes felt like they were going to pop out. He started vomiting. He got really dizzy. And his body, he's complaining that his body still, several days later, is still feeling hot and he's still vomiting. He thinks he's got radiation poisoning, you guys. And he also had woke up with this really strange lump that he says grew overnight. Like, this is a trip, you guys. Like, honestly, have you ever had any kind of experiences like that? I have heard of alien implants by a guy named Dr. Roger Lear. I'll get into all that kind of stuff a lot later in some videos, but for right now, I'm just going to stick to Duong's story here. Duong says that he's going to cut out that object in his wrist, and he probably will send me the information on it. So if he does, I'm going to have an update to this video as well. He states that this object and any object that anyone ever comes across, if it's blue and green and doing blue and green blinking, to stay away from it, because he believes very strongly that these are negative forces, and that, obviously based on his experience, stay away from them, you guys. I'm not too sure what alien group this would belong to. But at the end of the day, this UFO is pretty spectacular. In the videos, I've blown it up. I've shown the pulse flash as far as you can see it pulse itself. I'm absolutely blown away. He also mentioned through our conversation that he typically hears a lot of loud dogs barking in the village in the middle of the night, and he's starting to hear things crawl around his rooftop, and his wife and his child at home are seriously scared. They're losing sleep and they're living life right now with a ton of anxiety, as this just happened a couple days ago. If you're from the Philippines, you know that any kind of operation, any kind of hospitalization requires money. And unfortunately, in the Philippines, there's two different factions. Either you're poor or you're rich. And most people are poor, not many people are rich. There is a growing middle class thanks to call centers. The reason why I know this is because I actually used to work in call centers and I used to live in the Philippines. Wonderful folks, wonderful culture, awesome food. I now make some of the best barbecue I've ever made in my lifetime. So much so that I'm trying to sell it to people that are in the barbecue industry, as a marinade. But so far, just like these big UFO channels, whenever I try and reach out and talk to someone who's a gate holder, I don't have any luck. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm intense. Maybe because they don't want to get to know me. Maybe someone else somewhere is doing their job, or the job that is reviewing all the emails and sifting through the letters and stuff. Maybe those people are the ones that aren't allowing me to reach the right people. I even had this happen once with Apple computers and Steve Jobs. When the iPhones were released, I'm just going to tell a story here while I'm doing this, because why not? When the iPhones were released, they were provided to every Apple employee, as far as like, here's a phone, Apple employee. And I was working on the phones at the time, and I later became a manager in the company. But while on the phones, I was provided, and because I wasn't working directly for them, I was provided with like a paper cardboard cutout. And that was basically a picture showing me what the device looked like, and everything else I had to read on articles online. It was nuts. And when we opened the queue, the very first iPhone phone calls flooded in, about 3,500 in a matter of 2 seconds, and it stopped the queue from happening. Also, I don't know if you remember this, but it slowed down the internet. Why did it slow down the internet? Because all the activations of those phones went through iTunes and went through the Apple server, and it caused the internet to almost break that day. Lo and behold, I was speaking with a wonderful lady, and I tried to reach out several times to Steve Jobs, but obviously there are people reading his emails. Like, there are probably people reading Tim Cook's emails and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, I reached out to him and I got no response. So I'm taking phone calls. I meet this nice little old lady from Arkansas. She's super sweet. She's got that southern drawl, y'all, that y'all just want to melt in your hand, calling me honey child and darling. I loved it so much. So I was treating her like my grandma. I walked her through everything. By the end of the phone call, she wanted to give my manager praise. I said, hell no, lady, I don't need it. I know I'm doing a good job. If you're telling me I did a good job, I already did what I needed to. You told the right person right now. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, she wasn't taking that for an answer. So I said, you know what? Email sjobs@apple.com. Well, a couple months later, an email came back to the big bosses, and I got hauled in a room, and I for sure thought I was going to get fired for it. But all there was an email chain where Steve Jobs had a smiley face that said, hey, awesome job. That's great. It's just a smiley face. But that right there meant more than any other words that he could have said. It means that my name, John Carter, went across his table in some of the last years he ever had on his life, knowing that I actually gave his customers some of the best customer support they ever had. You know, maybe you talked to me when you were on calling into Apple. Maybe you're hearing my voice saying, damn it, you know what? I actually talked to that guy one time when I bought a bunch of apps, and I really didn't want to buy those apps. I was just getting caught up in the game and I needed a refund. Maybe you talked to me in those circumstances. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's my story about gatekeepers and how I, John Carter of UFOsWorldwide.com, came across the book, or I guess the table of the Steve Jobs. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble, y'all. Enjoy your evening. Duong, I hope nothing but the best for you and your family. I hope that this is going to go away. I hope that there is nothing in your wrist and that it's just a magical fat sack that built up overnight. But please keep me posted. And if anyone's ever experienced anything like that, please comment down below and share your experience as well. Duong will be looking at this post and looking at the comments within. Thanks a lot.